for so many across the country. It's a challenge that feels even taller this year.
The pandemic and not being able to see our friends and family.
This week, we talk about mental health. The faces of those fighting the most personal of battles.
One of the things we talk about all the time is gratitude. What am I grateful for today?
And where you can turn to find help. This is The Race.
When I close my eyes, I see her. And I feel so.
Welcome to The Race. I'm Chris Stewart. This year, the pandemic, the politics, the life changes that no one could have expected have all put a stress on our mental health. This week we're in Colorado, a state and part of the country where mental health challenges have had an impact at a disproportionate level. Take a look at this map from the CDC. These are the suicide rates across America. 6 of the top 7 states are in the Mountain West, and that includes Colorado, where we are right now, and Utah. That's where our Ashley Sampson is talking to people who have faced these challenges firsthand.
Take a step into the workshop of Heidi Swapp.
This is the famous Hello Heidi workshop.
Sawdust and noise fill the air. Her oldest son, never too far away, ready to provide some comic relief when needed. This is where Heidi comes to create.
I do love it. I love the possibilities.
Heidi's always been crafty, whether in the workshop or at her home.
Photos and stories, super important to me. And it brings me joy.
But for a few years, she couldn't bring herself to create anything.
When Corey passed away, I couldn't scrapbook.
Corey is her second oldest son.
Corey called me and told me they loved me. He told me goodbye.
Just months after his 16th birthday, he died by suicide.
I was completely shocked. I didn't know that was even tumbling around in his mind.
She says Corey was seeing a therapist.
We had just met for about an hour, and it was a very tender and wonderful conversation.
But 45 minutes later, he was gone.
The hard thing about suicide is that you're left with questions. And it's not one question, it's 10,000 questions that you will never have answers for.
I had this moment.
So she started talking.
I was telling David how afraid I was.
Talking about the things most families struggle to talk about, mental illness.
The podcast is called Light the Fight.
Alongside her for each weekly episode, Corey's therapist.
Both of us had been in that room, and both of us had been trying to help him.
Now they help others.
I'm very glad that...
I believe 100% that if we can shine light and if we can talk about stuff, then we can go to work.
It's what motivated Heidi to go back to work too, to create once again. In a way, Corey is there too. She still wears his favorite shoes as she works.
Telling his story and talking and laughing and remembering him is this huge part of healing. But if it's just in the dark, we have nothing to work with.
In Harriman, Utah, I'm Ashley Sampson reporting.
For those who struggle with issues like anxiety or depression, there's no magic cure. But here in Colorado, there is a group helping people work through challenges of the mind by giving their minds a workout. It's hard to know what so many of us face by just passing by.
I had lived in a very dark place for a very, very long time.
But when someone like Taylor Tripp lets you see their struggle.
That's okay. Yes. Yep, I was in my last rope.
You can grasp the strength of mental health's grip.
They feel hopeless.
A battle psychotherapist Shelly Miles says we can't fight the same way anymore.
When they come here, we're trying to give them hope and help them see that there's another way to help themselves.
To her, that hope is here.
So we're looking at the connections in the brain and how the brain's connecting.
Shelley owns the Mind Gym, where they specialize in neurofeedback.
So we put electrodes on the head. We're monitoring live brain waves.
She says in a recording of the brain's waves, she can see certain activity associated with challenges like depression or anxiety.
So if people have too much or too little of something, then that causes them to have symptoms.
She says they then train the brain to perform better. This patient's brain is rewarded when his brain waves are in a certain range, with a screen that brightens and a sound that plays in his headphones.
The brain's training to do what we're asking it to do.
Conditioning, just like any other part of the body.
Your brain is a muscle, and it's just like if you were to have a sprained ankle or a broken leg. You can't expect somebody to run a race with it.
Shelley sees these methods as a way to treat mental health beyond traditional paths such as medication.
It's kind of like an onion, it'll unfold stuff. So the importance of having a counselor while you're doing neurofeedback is important.
Though it is not approved by the Food and Drug Administration, the National Institutes of Health says it's an alternative method that has shown improvement in treating many mental health disorders. But its report suggests the benefits aren't long-lasting.
I'm able to sleep for the first time in my life.
Taylor Tripp says her sessions twice a week for 6 months have undeniably worked for her.
Colors are brighter, food tastes different. It's beyond words, really. To know that it could have transformed my life in that way so long ago, nobody should be struggling right now. Like, that this is out there.
More to come. Stick with us.